Hi there, welcome back to Usable Wisdom, and for today's video, we will be talking about the bad advice poor people will give you. So make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you'll be updated whenever we upload new videos. It's free, and you can always change your mind later on. And that way, you can also easily be notified whenever we upload new ideas on how to earn more money. So it's a win-win. With that said, let's begin. We constantly hear how million-dollar salaries are paid to CEOs or athletes. The typical chief executive officer salary in the United States is over $800,000 as of 2022. But when we deal with larger companies, wherein compensations could be in the tens of millions of dollars, if not hundreds of millions of dollars, it is sometimes much more. For instance, Tim Cook alone earned approximately $770 million in 2021. That type of money is uncommon for even business owners to earn, let alone a CEO who earns slightly more than $500 million in a single year. However, just 15% of millionaires held senior leadership positions. 93% of millionaires claimed that they had toiled hard to accumulate their fortune instead of relying on huge salaries, and that they had done it by creating something that was their own. Even though the company isn't necessarily worth billions of dollars, it is at least worth a few million. However, the majority of the advice we frequently receive from those around us comes from those who haven't personally succeeded. People blabber words because it's easier to say than to do. Have you ever heard the saying, "The problem with the world is that smart people are full of doubts, while the foolish ones are full of confidence"? That's because people become more aware of their ignorance as their knowledge increases. Sometimes the obvious is not really obvious. The fact that the majority of people are either poor or living paycheck to paycheck also explains why there is so much bad advice out there. Hence, let's now explore 5 pieces of bad advice that people commonly give. Number 1. Drop out or quit and start your own business. This one is common advice that, when viewed from the sidelines, appears to be very persuasive. What prevents you from accomplishing that if he was able to achieve it? In reality, success in any field looks effortless, and as if it happened overnight when you observe someone who has achieved it, particularly when it comes to successful athletes. Anyone seems to be able to accomplish it. What is preventing you? Consider how many more athletes there have been that put in just as much effort as others but were unsuccessful for a variety of reasons. They were relatively inferior to their peers, suffered injuries, or lacked adequate support. Athletes are everywhere in the world. There are literally millions of them. The survivors are the handful who did make it to the top, but you only know a few of them. The top few truly make the great majority of the money in this sector. For instance, Instagram postings by Cristiano Ronaldo are compensated with over $1 million. However, there aren't many players that get paid that much. Even the vast majority of those at the top don't make that much money. The same holds true for every other facet of life. There are at least 9 other startups for everyone that succeeds despite their best efforts. Perhaps the correct idea hadn't come along at the proper moment. They couldn't secure the necessary funding, or the leadership was flawed. Therefore, if someone tells you that Steve Jobs dropped out of college and ended up founding the biggest company in the world, it doesn't necessarily follow that you will do the same and become just like him. Actually, the data demonstrates that graduates generally have better financial and social outcomes than non-graduates. In practice, those who are financially insecure and battling with their finances tend to provide this advice the most. Any sensible individual who has genuinely achieved success in life will advise you that everything depends on yourself, your abilities, and your environment. So be it if you have to quit school to accomplish your goals, but make sure you've given it some thought and are completely aware of what you're doing. Number 2. We live once, so stop saving and start enjoying. This is some excellent advice. It makes no sense to live in unrelenting fear of the future. Why save so much money if you might never see it? How about if your life ends tomorrow? So take advantage of it while you can, since you will make more if you ever need it. It makes sense that way. Unfortunately, this is not the way reality is. First of all, you'll never know when you'll pass away. This is not typically something that is planned. We simply must acknowledge the truth that sometimes certain things are beyond our control. Furthermore, as you age, your expenses increase. $1,000 now seems like a lot compared to what it was when you were younger. It doesn't, however, even pay your rent as an adult today. Whatever income you have today won't be sufficient eventually as you get older. That is typically because your spending grows along with your demands and wants. Therefore, if you live with such an attitude, you will soon find yourself living paycheck to paycheck. But by then, it will be too late to accomplish anything, especially if you intend to start a family and have children. Following years of relentless inflation that has increased prices, 61% of Americans are once again living paycheck to paycheck. As a result, even while it makes sense to appreciate the moment, one should always keep an eye on the future, particularly its financial aspects. Invest and save money even when you don't need it right away. Before we proceed, let's chat in the comment section about your thoughts on these pieces of advice and realization so far. After that, let's continue. Number 3. Renting is a waste of money. People will always try to persuade you every now and then that renting is a complete waste of money and is akin to throwing money away. Your mortgage payment is going to someone else. Why then would you spend so much money on rent when you could get a house with a mortgage, even if it meant waiting 30 years? Truthfully speaking, this is flawed reasoning. Even if you believe that purchasing a home will be less expensive in the long run, renting allows you to obtain something in exchange for your money, rather than wasting it. You receive a drive rather than a car when you book an Uber. You only obtain a service, you do not acquire the company. Uber will get you from one place to another, which is the entire point of the vehicle, and renting a house will do the same. Owning a house is not the goal, but having a roof over your head is. Therefore, when you rent, you are receiving housing. However, since you constantly need a place to live, most people continue to believe that renting is a waste of resources, especially if you can buy a house for the same amount of money. This is where the misconception begins. The majority of people only consider the typical price tag and directly compare it to renting instead of taking into consideration all the costs associated with home ownership. I'm not trying to talk someone out of buying a house. However, it isn't always the ideal choice, because it can not work for your situation in some cases when the market is at its highest. Number 4. Having a routine makes life boring. The only path to financial independence, it turns out, is through our daily routine. The only way we can accomplish anything in life is through our routine. I have accomplished everything I have because I have the self-discipline to push myself to get closer to my objectives every single day. In reality, your life may seem more exciting to you when you lack structure and are frequently preoccupied. However, the truth is that a few years from now, you will find yourself wondering, why did time pass so quickly and I haven't accomplished any of my goals? Number 5. Keep trying, you will eventually make it. I detest quitting. Imagine working so hard on something just to discover that you were unsuccessful. Successful people, so the saying goes, never give up. They persist in striving until they succeed, but that is not how life works. After you tried and it didn't seem to work, don't try again. Instead, keep changing your approach until you figure out what exactly works. If it doesn't work, perhaps we should attempt something different. There are, without a doubt, stories of those who have found greatness and risen to the top. Yet once more, there's only a handful of them, and they're the ones known to us today. Thank you for watching. I hope you gained some usable wisdom from this video. If you did, remember to hit the notification button and then subscribe to this channel. That way, you'll be updated anytime we upload life-changing videos like this. Until next time, see ya!